very special panel because we're actually here at the holiday party Mingle Jingle, so we're super excited to be doing the panel at this party. We got some awesome panelists up here that you guys are going to meet. They're wonderful. You're going to love hearing from them tonight, so I'm not going to hold you. Again, my name is LaVon Kemp. I'm the host of the panel Denver, and we are going to get started. So, my lovely panelists, I just need you to tell us your names, your age, your relationship status, and then who you are, what you do, and what organizations you're involved in, okay? All right.
My name is Javon Brame. I serve as the current chairman of Denver African American Philanthropists. I am a native of Denver, Colorado. What else was it?
Relationship status.
Relationship status, single,
Hey now.
and 29 years old.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Ryan Ross. I turn 21 every Friday at 5 o'clock. I am the president and CEO of the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado and thrilled to be here.
Good evening, everyone. I enjoy long walks on the beach. No, I'm kidding. My name is Charles Guilford III. I have the privilege of serving as the chapter president for the Urban League Young Professionals Group, also serving with my man Javon here on DAP. Age 30 with a receding hairline, transparent environment, and then beyond that, married with a little baby who's 7 months old. She's amazing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandon Bruce. I also serve on DAP with these gentlemen, now serving as vice president for Urban League Young Professionals, and glad to be here tonight. I am 30 years old, and I am in a committed relationship.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lorraine Scott Jennings. I am 37 years old, very married, 12 years, going on 13. And I am here to represent SPIN, Sisterhood of Philanthropists Impacting Needs. So SPIN is a Black woman giving circle, philanthropy circle. Our mission is to use our collective strengths to effectively empower women and girls and that's marginalized, and to give them basically a sustainable setup in regards to empowerment as well as programming.
I'm going to let El Presidente go ahead and explain Urban League Young Professionals.
Well, Urban League Young Professionals, so we're a auxiliary off of the Urban League, and the Urban League has a history of serving the African American community to make sure that we had access to equal economic opportunities, making sure that we had representation in job and workforces. And in a modern context, it's still fighting those same battles, but making sure from a young professional perspective that we're advocating for our young professionals, making sure that we're a solid community, we're strategic and intentional with how we network, partner, and advance our culture forward.
So the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado is a professional development and leadership program, and we focus on emerging leaders of color, making sure that they progress personally, professionally, civically, and socially. Our goal is to prepare them, graduate them, and pass them on to organizations like the Urban League Young Professionals, SPIN, and a variety of the organizations out in the community.
Denver African American Philanthropists is a giving circle very similar to SPIN. Our mission is to leverage our time, talent, treasure, and testimony to make a positive impact in the Denver metro community. We have a donor-advised fund, which we all contribute $365 a year at minimum. And then we make community grants, mostly to youth organizations or organizations that are led by people of color.
Okay, did y'all hear that? And he's single, so just remember that. You hear what he said he do for the youth? And he's single. Okay, I just want to make sure y'all heard that. All right, so we're going to move along and get on to the panel question. So for those of you who've never seen the panel Denver, we basically talk about positive interactions between men and women. And we do put a focus on men and women of color because sometimes society portrays our relationships as crazy and wild and that we can't get along, and that's not true. We do get along and we do love each other. We love everybody. So that's why we started the panel Denver, so that women of color, or just women in general, could ask questions and we could learn from these dapping men, and then also have our wow women hold down the female perspective. So tonight, in light of the fact that we're here, it's a charity party, we're getting toys for the youth, we're going to discuss relationship in the lens of giving and philanthropy and things like that. So the question is, for my leaders up here who are already giving and already doing that, how important do you guys feel it is to have a spouse or a girlfriend have the same mentality when it comes to giving? And how do you manage money things when it comes to this area within a relationship? Okay, who wants to start? All right.
So I think it's important to have a partner who's equally yoked, period, not just in giving, right? And so if they're equally yoked across the board, the giving piece is going to fall right in place. I think we all have a responsibility to give back. We all stand on the shoulders of many people who've come before us, our forefathers and foremothers. Nobody does anything by themselves, so we all have that responsibility to give back and give. And I think you just have those conversations in your family to decide what it is that you give. Sometimes it's time, sometimes it's talent, sometimes it's treasure, just depending on where you are, as long as you're doing something.
First of all, that's an amazing question. I think that, see, me and my wife, we got married last year. So we've been married since June 26, 2016. But prior to that, you know, during our, I would say, more courting relationship, one of the first things before we got deep into feelings and all the, you know, Ed Sheeran and Jodeci or whatever kind of songs that just make you catch feelings for a person, we really objectively sat down and had a conversation around, well, what's your purpose and what's mine? And what's your passion and what's mine, and how do those align? Like, my wife is at home right now with our little one, but it's sometimes a stretch, and it's a gift for her because she would like to have me at home, obviously, to help with the little one. But that's a part of our dynamic, which is we came to the understanding that we know who each other are, and therefore we support each other because we have a common mission. And so often there's such a passion around feelings that you forget purpose. And relationships serve a greater purpose because feelings are so transient that if you're not serving a greater purpose, then I have to question, so to an extent, the fidelity of your love and your relationship, because in my opinion, you know, relationships serve something greater than what you do for me.
Didn't really want to go after that, but I'll just keep it real simple. Time is one of the things that you can't get back. So if you're spending your time giving or being a philanthropist, you have to have somebody that understands why you're doing that. And like Dr. Ross said, if you guys aren't equally yoked, if you guys aren't on the same page, they're never going to understand that, and that's automatically going to cause friction. So if you're going to be spending your time giving to the community, you got to have somebody that understands why.
So when I first met my husband, he swear I told him that I wanted a man like Jesus. And when you think about the ultimate giver, sacrifice, who else can you think about? Jesus. And I mean, that's a spiritual piece. When we talk about being equally yoked across the board, like Dr. Ross said, as well as Charles said, I do believe that that is probably one of the number one qualities that I looked at when I was dating, when I was mingling, jingling with folks, trying to figure out and, you know, divvying up my time, trying to see what people were about. And so it's very important to have these conversations to actually see that in action as well from my mate. So it didn't stop once we got married. It hasn't stopped. It won't stop. We're on the same page in regards to what that means for us, what that means for our legacy, what that means for what it means for our ancestors in regards to being accountable to what has been given to us, and so how we give as well. So it's very important and an amazing question.
Well, I think what I have been able to learn from my married friends, married and committed relationship friends, is the importance to be willing to allow that significant other in your life to go out into the community and do those things. So when you allow those things, that's actually an act of giving. When Charles talks about being here and his wife being at home with their child, that's something that she is giving to her community because he's having a strong impact in this community and being here in this space. And so I think in searching or exploring what I would be looking for, I think that's very important, or important quality.
Okay, so I'm going to make it a little more real. What happens when your significant other or your spouse, instead of wanting to give that money to a certain thing, wants them Jimmy Choos, or wants that certain thing, or wants something specific, and there's a conflict going on around where a certain amount of money or resources is going to go? How do you deal with that?
You know. So again, right? So you asked a real question, and believe it or not, it comes back to the conversation, right? When, budget is so important, right? A lot of people, fall in love and they go, oh, Andre 3000, you are the prototype, right? And they're not thinking about finances, bills, retirement, all those things that are super important. And so as for me in my household, what we do is at the beginning of every year, like, just like you do in a corporation, we've got budget talks, right? And those are very important for me because I'm an impulse spender. And so I have a problem. And I'm also an impulse giver. And so we have to sit down and talk about this is what we're giving for the year. And that's what we talked about. And we've been married going on 11 years now. So in the beginning, it was this is what we're giving for the year. Now it's more intentional. This is who we're giving to and why. We figured out that we wanted to be much more of a blessing to a few organizations than $100 here, $100 there across the board. And then once you get to that level, that's it. You just cut it off and you tell them wait till next year.
No, I like that too. But, to that end, I also think that it's important to have balance in your relationships because the thing that I've learned is if my household and my wife and my little girl are not full and taken care of within the definition and the context of what matters to them, then I'm creating another community need. And so there's balance, that has to be found in that because what ends up happening is I'm out here and everybody's excited and we're giving. But my daughter, who's going to be smart like her mom, amen, Lord help us, my wife is so intelligent, so she's going to want to go to college one day. She might want to be the first, female president. She may want to be a lawyer. She may want to be all these wonderful things. And if we have spread ourselves too thin, then we create yet another need. And so I think that there's a balance, so for me, I evaluate myself and my, success, as a husband, as a father is my wife's cup full and overflowing, and is my daughter's. And then from the abundance, the community receives that. Because when you have whole families, you have whole communities. And from that posture, you can make more impact.
Once again, I have to follow that. So in all seriousness, how do you choose? So learning from my married friends, happy wife, happy life. So that's always a factor. However, I think it's important to keep kind of a viewpoint that your passions are not greater than your partner's. Yes. So the thing that you are very passionate about is not greater than the thing that they're passionate about. Nobody's dominating the other. So you always have to take a step back and realize that they're just as passionate about the things you're passionate about. So you have to make sure that you are being equal and, giving adequate time or money or effort to the things that they're passionate about as well. Yep.
So my husband really likes shoes. Like, we have a room full of shoes. But that doesn't deter him from understanding what is important within our relationship and within the overall of what we give and how we give. We understand that there is a balance and there's an accountability to our household first, as well as to our church, and because that's a big part of what we believe in. But after that, we realized that he says, you have your money, I have my money, we have a pool of money. And we decide typically, we always have a upfront, but we adjust as we go because things change. Let's just be realistic. Sometimes organizations change, passions change, and understanding what your purpose is, that may change as well. So we really have a really easy peasy kind of situation when it comes down to how we give and understanding how one another give and what we want to give to.
All right, guys. So I just really appreciate you guys for being on the panel. He passed on that one. But we heard some really good things, in the area of relationships, whether you're married, you got a spouse, you got a boyfriend, you got a girlfriend. It is good to have these conversations about how money's going to be used, about passions, about not competing, and about taking care of home first. I love hearing these kind of things coming from men, especially you men of color, because a lot of times society doesn't portray y'all saying these kinds of things. And the shows that we're in, we're not talking about these kind of things. So I have mad respect for you guys. Really proud of all of you. Thank you so much for holding down the female perspective. We love our WOW women. So again, thank you all for being on the panel, Denver, and we hope you have a great night. Happy holidays.